Alan Gross is a 65-year-old American who is serving a 15-year prison term in Cuba. In 2009, he was arrested, charged, and convicted for setting up what the Western media is calling a secret internet for people to be able to communicate. Now, of course, in real life, what this means is that he was actually engaging in subversive activities in the country. He was not just setting up free internet for people. He was actually legitimately going in and trying to undermine the entire system. And he was, of course, arrested, charged, and convicted of that. But now, speaking through his lawyer after having spent so much time in jail, he feels that life is not worth living anymore. And he has gone on to tell his wife and his daughter, Marilyn, that they should not come and visit him anymore, that he feels that life's not worth living, and he's considering killing himself. Through his lawyer, they are saying that his hips are failing, he's losing the sight in his right eye, and his emotional state is breaking down, particularly after the recent passing of his grandmother at 92. Now, he did keep in touch with his mother when she was alive, and in fact, the lawyer said they frequently talked on the phone. And at one point, he decided to go on a 9-day hunger strike. Eventually, the strike was given up when his mother convinced him not to do it. Now, when she passed away, he had asked if he could go to her funeral. The Cuban government denied the request, and the denial was absolutely reasonable. Cuban agents are not allowed to enter the country for anything but UN purposes. So what would we expect to happen? A bunch of Cuban prison guards were to come into the country and escort him to his mother's funeral and whatnot? And we know exactly what would have happened. The U.S. would have first demanded that they hand him over to prison guards in the U.S., and essentially they would have just let him go. Now, why would they let him go, you ask? Because he was a subcontractor for the USAID, one of the notorious organizations that go to Latin American countries and set up subversive activities, and one specifically known for doing so. So it was very clear that he actually was working for an organization that is known internationally to interfere in the domestic, political, and economic affairs of various countries, particularly ones the United States are trying to gain control of or already have control of. Now, in addition, his lawyer did receive a letter from 300 rabbis that they wanted sent to Obama to demand he be released from Cuba. Apparently, while he was in Cuba, he was setting up internet for a Jewish community or something like that. The details on what exactly he was doing with the Jewish community are pretty sketchy at this point. Now, let's think about this from a logical standpoint. What do you think would happen if somebody from Cuba was found setting up a secret communication network for people inside the United States with the specific purpose of overthrowing the U.S. government? Well, that person would probably be executed and accused of being a terrorist, and this would probably be used to justify more harsh sanctions and to justify practically war against Cuba, and try to get Cuba listed as a terrorist state with other countries around the world. And yet, when the United States so very clearly and openly does this to other countries, they cry foul. It seems very clear to me from incidences like this why the DPRK has such strong restrictions on people who enter the country. The DPRK is always fearful of things like this happening, what with them actually being at war against the United States and actually suffering more from U.S. imperialism than just about any other country around the world. And this is why they take such strict security precautions, not just with Americans who enter the country, but generally foreigners who enter the country. And one final point I want to make is that I find it a little bit sickening that they're all upset because this guy was convicted of setting up subversive activities in a foreign country, that he's being mistreated by being put in jail. Meanwhile, the United States imprisons more of its population than anyone else. And many of those people are in prison for non-violent so-called drug offenses. Many of those people just got high or just had something that would get them high, and now they're serving unbelievable prison sentences for this. And yet they feel so much empathy for this guy who basically went to another country working for an organization that was known to be subversive and was convicted and sent to jail, and even admits that he's being fairly treated, and by his own lawyer's admission, was frequently speaking with his mother and was allowed to have regular visits with his family. I think this speaks something very good about the imperialist mentality. You're just trying to enjoy your life? Well, then you basically go to jail. But if you're doing something in the service of imperialist aggression, something with this specific purpose of making subordinate other countries to the wills of the U.S. capitalist class, well then you're a victim yourself. Thank you for watching. Please comment and rate the video. If you liked it, hit subscribe or check out some of these other great videos. If you wish, share it on social media. While you're at it, why don't you follow me on Twitter? And if you got time, go on over to the MRN bookstore and check out some of the latest books available.